Hey everybody, welcome to Classic Movie Gush. This is a very exciting one. We have a hard
hmm
time not going back to let's face it. There are only so many best teams ever when it comes to acting, and today we are talking about Bringing Up Baby. Now,
Yay!
it's actually bringing, it's not like singing in the rain, right? It's actually bringing up baby.
It's
It's not
actually bringing.
because I
You
always want to
say
say
the G.
bringing up baby.
Bringing up baby.
Now, I understand that you are an expert in this film.
Hmm. Yes. I've been watching this movie since I was probably 5 years old. I used to go rent it from the library. So it's probably the first. It's probably the reason I love classic movies, actually.
Wow, this is like the
Yeah.
starting point. This
It
is
is
the Rosetta
totally.
Stone of Melissa's classic
Yes.
moviness.
Yes.
Now, did you go to the
Absolutely.
library by yourself when you were 5?
Probably not, but probably by 7, I was probably riding my bike there by myself.
Nice, nice. Yeah, we were young. So this movie was made in 1938. Did I get that right? 1938?
hmm Wait, I don't know that.
I'm pretty
I'm
sure.
sure.
Okay, I'll
Okay,
handle the easy ones.
you do
Um,
the. Yeah,
you're
I'll do the
gonna
more
do the
in-depth.
heavy lifting.
Okay.
So let's talk about it. The movie stars Cary Grant and Katharine Hepburn and is directed by Howard Hawks. It is an
My
RKO
favorite.
picture. Yes, I know. I think of you now forever when I think of Howard Hawks.
Which you do
Now,
a lot, right? You think of Howard Hawks a lot.
well, the more I talk about movies with you, the more I think about Howard Hawks. Okay, so go ahead and tell everybody what Bringing Up Baby is about.
Okay, Bringing Up Baby is about uh, a leopard named Baby, and it's actually the story of David, who is a paleontologist. Side note: I once won a spelling bee spelling the word paleontologist. So he is
Whoa!
yes, I did. So he is a paleontologist, and he just wants to get the final bone for his dinosaur that he's been working on for years, a brontosaurus, I believe. And
Hmm.
he finally gets the bone on the day before he's supposed to get married. But that same day, or maybe it's the morning of his marriage, I don't know. But that same day, he runs into Katharine Hepburn's character, Susan, and she latches onto him immediately. And basically, the whole rest of the movie is her chasing him and pulling him into her silly life. And David ends up losing his prized bone, and Susan ends up losing her leopard. So basically, it's the two of them trying to find a bone and trying to find a leopard. It's really great.
Very good. I was intrigued. Leonard Maltin, the famous movie critic, he's done a number of things.
hmm
He's been around for a long time. I read that Leonard Maltin called this the definitive screwball comedy. Like
I would agree with that. I really
this
would.
is the one. Now we did the Philadelphia Story, I think, right at the beginning of our time covering movies, and we kind of called that the standard for rom-coms.
Yeah.
Interesting, is it not,
It-
that these two are in such praised movies?
yes. Yes. I think they're just so great together. Actually, they only did 4 movies together, and they did one movie before this one. Then they did this one. This actually didn't. A lot of people say that it did horrible and it was this great huge flop. It wasn't a huge flop, but people didn't really love it. And even though Cary Grant's career went on to do really wonderful after this movie, Katharine Hepburn had a lot of bad years after that. They called her box office poison, and it really wasn't until she re-teamed up with Cary Grant that things started going better for her again. But it's crazy to me that they only did 4 movies together because they're so great together.
Well, crazy by the standard of that time. Today, I mean, you look at, like, I don't know, uh, Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan did a couple, or I think De Niro and Michelle Pfeiffer just did something together, and maybe they had done something together before. It's not common to see four today, but that was kind of how they did
Right.
things back then.
Right. Back then, stars of like Katharine Hepburn and Spencer Tracy were in a ton of things together, and
Yeah. Well, they were also
Myrna
together
Loy
for a
and
while.
William Powell, they were in a ton of things together. And
Okay, so help me understand this. because I'm familiar with the fact that Katharine Hepburn was labeled box office poison.
Mhm.
And then I read that she struggled to do the comedic parts in this film.
Mhm. Yeah.
For my
Yeah.
money, as I'm watching it, this movie is so funny, and I mean,
I
it holds
know.
up. It holds up like few other comedies, right?
Seriously.
And
Yes.
there, she is so good. There's like even these little
Mhm.
like 1 second asides, like when they're in, famously they end up in the jail and they're side by
Mhm.
side, and Cary Grant is the straight man, and he's so flustered all the time. And she could just make like this little flick of her chin and this little like sound, and it's just perfect. So help me
Mhm.
understand why was it just the culture wasn't ready for screwball comedy? What was going on that was making her poison?
It might have been people weren't ready for it. I know Howard Hawks once said that this movie, he feels like one of the reasons it got a bad rap is because everybody was crazy in it. There was no normal character. But as far as Katharine Hepburn, like yeah, they said she had a lot of trouble acting in this because she wasn't used to doing comedy. They actually had to bring somebody in to train her to do it. When they were filming it, she would laugh out loud all the time and go over the top. And there's probably a few parts in the movie where she does. You can tell that she's working really hard for the laugh, but they had to teach her to be a little bit more subtle, to
Mm.
say her funny line and not laugh at herself. Um, yeah, but I don't know why after this movie she would have been labeled box office poison because she's hilarious in it and she's so great. Something that I read talked about how they went way over schedule in filming this and went over budget as well. But Howard Hawks said the reason that it took them so long to film it is because Cary Grant and Katharine Hepburn would crack up so often on the set and they would laugh at themselves like crazy. And so I think that shows in the movie because everybody's just having fun in it. It's
Yeah.
it's just a laugh fest.
And I was shocked to
Yeah.
find out that this movie got Howard Hawks fired. This was
I know
the
he was. Yeah, he was
what?
supposed to make Gunga Din or something after this one, and they just went ahead and fired him, which is crazy because he went on to make a bazillion awesome movies. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Maybe people just weren't ready for this kind of comedy. It moves really fast too. The scenes are really, really short in it. Maybe people just didn't connect with the characters. I don't
Mm.
know.
You talk about
I think
snappy banter.
yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know. I was trying to think like she's so funny. She's kind of like this grifter con woman type, and she sets her eyes on him right away. And
Hmm.
he's just so focused on just getting through the day, getting his brontosaurus bone, getting to his wedding, and she's this complete agent of chaos. Um, and as you watch them, he just kind of like he loses it, and he just doesn't even care anymore. Matter of fact, at one point they like end up in a falling in the water, and while she's drying out his sock, it catches fire, and I love that it's not like a big Yosemite Sam scream. She's like, oh, your sock's on fire, and he's like, I don't care anymore. It,
And then
it's
doesn't
just
he throw
like
the other
he's
one in,
reached.
or she throws the other one in, or
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, I didn't
yeah.
know. Okay, so when I was in undergrad, I took a class at the end of my history degree called The Great Depression and World War II. And it was the only time a teacher did this, and it was my favorite thing this particular teacher ever did. She showed Bringing Up Baby in class. I think we watched it over
Nice.
like, most of a week. And I remember I think I remember liking it, but that was like for me, I'd never really watched old movies. I'd watched some Chaplin and some Marx Brothers. Um, and some Singing in the Rain for sure. But like I hadn't watched like the 30s very much. Um, so I kind of was it was introduced to me in like a historical context and everything. But I don't know. I find it amazing that maybe it did moderately well that people weren't ready for it because the Marx Brothers and those other comedians were out there. Vaudeville
Hmm.
was known. What's your
Maybe
favorite
people
part?
were. Oh, my favorite part of the movie. Oh, I can't. This movie, like the whole movie, is my favorite part. Um, I love every time Cary Grant and Katharine Hepburn sing to the leopard. They sing
Oh
"I
yeah.
Can't Give You Anything But Love." Every time they do that, I love it. Uh, yeah, so they sing that throughout the movie to try to get the leopard to come to them. There's a scene where Susan is in her apartment trying to get Cary Grant to come over, and she pretends that the leopard is attacking her, and then when Cary Grant gets there, he's just shocked because there actually is a leopard there.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, I think something that I read said that Katharine Hepburn was totally comfortable filming around the leopard, but Cary Grant actually was not cool with it. They do a lot of split screen stuff. If you pay attention, you can actually see when they're doing split screen. Things don't line up exactly right. But yeah, I love that scene when they're in Susan's apartment and Cary Grant is realizing that baby is actually a leopard. Gosh, the whole movie, I just love it. Later on in the movie, there's a character named Major Applegate, and he shows up, and they're trying to have a meal, and David and Susan keep getting up and leaving the table to alternately follow the dog and to follow the leopard. It's just, yeah, it's funny. The whole thing is hilarious.
Think one of the most iconic parts of the movie comes from the scene, and again, I was trying to think of the Hays Code, because there's a scene where he has to grab a shower, and so she goes and takes all of his clothes because she wants to detain him, and so he has to put on this ridiculous woman's robe, and I think that's probably like the money shot of the film is him sitting on the steps in this woman's robe, just kind of like pouting, and that there's some pretty funny stuff there. That whole scene just cracks me up. Cary Grant.
Awesome.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, his iconic line in that scene is when the grandmother in the movie asks him why he's wearing that robe, and he jumps up and he's like, because I just went gay all of a sudden.
I just went gay.
Yeah, nice job. That was a completely ad-libbed line. He was supposed to say something else there. He was supposed to just stutter about wearing the robe.
Right.
So I just love that Cary Grant just randomly said that. Apparently, a lot of the movie is ad-libbed.
And that famously is considered one of the first mainstream use of the word gay as slang for homosexual.
Yep.
So there's just and it's a long movie, and it's not long, is it? It's not even 2 hours. There's just so many. Kind of
normal length.
Yeah, there's so many different. It's a good story you can get lost in. Yeah. And I don't know, maybe people, if you're looking for the more, I don't know, sappy love story, like even the way that the romance is kind of realized, it's screwball to the end, and he kind of just surrenders. But I love it at the end where they're kind of like having their final encounter, and she's like, "What's wrong?" And he says, "Well, if you must know, I'm afraid of you." And I just love that. Like he's basically ready to profess his love, but he's terrified of her because
he's scared of her.
she's just chaos.
She's crazy. Yeah, I like the part earlier in the movie when he tells her, in quiet moments, I'm strangely drawn to you. But there haven't been any quiet moments. I love that line.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole romance is not a typical romance. It's the girl chasing after the guy, and the guy eventually just being like, okay, fine, I guess I'm in this. But Cary Grant just plays it so well. And actually, I read somewhere at one point that he was really hesitant about taking this role because he'd only ever played kind of more debonair characters, but he hadn't played a professor, and he thought it would be too bookish for him. So they actually hooked him up with a professor so that he could figure out mannerisms or something. But yeah, he plays it wonderfully. He's great.
He does, and the adjunct college teacher side of me, the professor side, I was kind of like thinking he's kind of like an Indiana Jones guy. Yeah, there's a little bit, and we should say that this movie had a major influence on one of our favorites, What's Up, Doc, which we will be talking about at some point.
Yes, Peter Bogdanovich directed What's Up, Doc, and he basically went to Bringing Up Baby for a lot of the inspiration. And it's funny, too, if you watch What's Up, Doc, a lot of the lines are basically rewritten from Bringing Up Baby.
And it's got that same kind of snappy meter. I love that movie. If someone is thinking that they might like to check out a movie, they've never checked out an old movie, it's really, if you like comedy especially, this is a great one to start with. This is like a great date night movie if you want to kind of like look like you got a little bit of culture. This would because it's like someone would be like, oh, you want to watch a 1938 movie, and they'd never expect it. If they've never seen Bring Up Baby, it's a winner. But in general, why would you tell people that they should watch this movie?
Because they will laugh, because it has great dialogue, because there's nothing quite so great as watching Cary Grant and Katharine Hepburn. Because what other movie could you watch that has a dinosaur, a leopard, a dog, and Cary Grant and Katharine Hepburn in it? Oh, I should point out one thing. The dog that's in this movie is Asta, who was a famous Hollywood dog
Oh
in
yeah.
like the 1930s and 40s. He's the same dog that is in the Thin Man movies, if you've ever seen those, with
Mm-mm.
William Powell and Myrna Loy. He's just in a lot of old movies. And he's also in the movie The Awful Truth with Cary Grant and Irene Dunn that came out
Oh
a
wow, it's a
little while
famous
before this
dog.
one. So it's a famous dog, Asta.
Champagne bones for that dog.
So, yep, yep.
Well, we love
Everybody
it. We
likes that
love
dog.
we love Bring Up Baby. You know, we're trying to space out our Cary Grant movies, but there's just so many good ones. Um,
It's hard.
it is. So tell us if you've seen Bring Up Baby and what did you love about it? If you haven't seen it, watch it. All right, we'll see you next time for Classic Movie Gush.